So today I'll be talking about what changes occur in Japanese maples as we move into winter and how to prepare for the coldest season of the year. Hi there maple fans, and in this series of videos I'll be sharing what I do throughout an entire year on a monthly basis. Please note that these months are based on UK timings, but of course can easily be adapted to anywhere else in the world. So just to mention that at this time of year it's completely natural and for Japanese maples to lose their leaves. In fact, it forms a very important part of their life cycle. So trying to keep them warm, trying to keep them indoors or something like that is very detrimental. They need to go through a cold period and go into a period of dormancy over the winter months. So this kind of thing can look untidy. It can be sort of a disappointment after they've looked so magnificent all year. But quite honestly, it's completely natural, completely okay, and nothing to worry about. So looking on some forums and Facebook, all that sort of thing, it's quite interesting that some people feel they need to put these indoors into a greenhouse, something to protect them. This is probably, certainly in the UK, Zone 8B where I am, quite a bad idea. The reason being that they need a little bit of moisture to keep them ticking over. And if they're indoors in the greenhouse and it completely dries out, that would potentially cause damage to the plants. Also, a greenhouse, even in winter, if the sun is shining, can get really quite warm, and the metabolism of the plant isn't really ready for that. It might start to leaf out early next year or something like that. So certainly in more temperate climes, it's perfectly okay to leave them outdoors. It really is. All I would say is that, as I'll come to later, there's a bit of special provision for maybe the smaller plants. Please note as well, as you can see, the way they lose their leaves varies a great deal. Don't worry about this. Some cultivars vary. Some trees in exactly the same position might be different to other ones. It's really, there's no telling, to be honest with you. And again, nothing to worry about. All I would say is, in terms of watering this time of year, in the UK it's actually been very dry. So I'll probably go out once every 3 or 4 days and just sort of water them if they've got very dry indeed. But without any leaves and without active transpiration through them, they just need hardly any water at all. And you can see there we've got on the wall 2 Dragon Masters, and as I was saying previously, the one still has leaves on it and the one doesn't, and they're literally a few feet apart. Likewise with this butterfly as well, I'd probably watch that one, give it a little bit more water, keep it going a little bit, because it kind of needs it. When they're actually bare of leaves completely, we're quickly going to move to a point where you don't need to water them at all. And just to say, if you'd like to come with me on my Acer journey, please do like and subscribe to my little channel. It really helps. I've also recently set up a Patreon site, so that's a great way of supporting me too, and help out with some of the costs of my excursions really. There's also the offer of some personal help, if you'd like it, either in a group format or at a one-to-one basis. Now when it comes to the smaller trees, it's not in fact the winter that bothers me. This is a great time of year to give a lot of consideration to next spring, because new growth on particularly small trees is very tender indeed, and early frost can cause a lot of damage. So putting them on some well draining pebbles or raising the pots up if needs be can be really beneficial. But like putting them low to the ground by a fence with some shelter will just help through those early frosts. And actually that's a video for a later date, but again it's the spring that's the issue, and you might want to bring 1 or 2 of those into even more shelter if it's particularly cold in the spring. However, for this purposes, a little bit of mutual protection, a little bit putting down by a fence will work wonders. What I'll probably do at this point as well is remove some of the little seedlings that have gone attached inside the pots, just give those a little bit of a tidy up really. You don't need to remove the leaf litter unless you want to, unless it's very deep indeed. It's probably just worth removing it so it doesn't hold onto a kind of a load of water or something really. What you can see on these pictures though, which is really important, is there's lots of little buds, and on some trees the buds will be very small, and on other trees they're a lot bigger, which we'll see later. But honestly, as long as they've budded and as long as they've made the buds ready for the spring, they're going to be absolutely fine. And even though winter can be a bit worrying, once actually they've gone dormant, these trees are as safe and well protected as they ever are in any season, to be honest with you. Now, of course, I am talking about the UK. If you live in Canada, if you live in somewhere really cold, then this would be different. You might have to wrap them up a little bit, put some bubble wrap around the pots, move them to a better location. If it's really cold, yes, putting them in the garage or something like that might be an option for you, because that's actually really nice to take. But I would say going down to 6, 7, 8 degrees, it's probably absolutely fine. But do bear in mind that trees in pots are more susceptible to cold weather. I'm just showing you there the dieback that was caused by last spring, and just re-emphasising that tree was absolutely fine until the spring, young tender growth, and that's where the risk factor is. So all this is absolutely fine, nothing too much to worry about. And as you can see, there's lots of little small buds all over the plant there, so we know it's going to be healthy, we know it's going to do really well next year. I would just note as well that this is a really good advertisement for not overpotting your trees. If these trees, which I haven't and would not pass repot out beyond midsummer, many of them, if you pull them out the pots, will have roots wrapped around them. That's just protection. That's just a nice tight root ball. The tree's going to be protected by that, and that's how trees, I think, should be overwintered. I personally would not repot them now. I wouldn't mess around with them, just leave them. If you want to trim them, I think next February, late February, March is ideal before the tree leaves out. Loads of buds on that one, large ones on this one, which is absolutely lovely. But yes, I wouldn't do much with these trees at all. Let them be and really take advantage of the spring to sort of put on a growth spurt, and they'll recover quite quickly if you need to do some trimming, etc. Don't see the point at all in repotting now, putting a load of soggy compost. The trees are dormant, the roots aren't going to grow into it. It's going to achieve absolutely nothing, in my opinion. So I'd leave things be. They were happy all year, they're happy now, and just bide our time and wait for the spring, and do that repotting. The basic philosophy here is to keep a nice tight ball over the winter, repot in the spring 1 or 2 sizes, that's it, bigger. And then what you'll find is that the roots will occupy that space again, and you're ready to go again next year. So I thought it's really worth showing you my orange dream here. Very interestingly, this is weeks later than the other trees in terms of losing its leaves. It's still sort of in the doing fall colours and stuff like that. It looks really pretty. And this is very, very typical. Trees in the ground sort of don't detect the cold as early somehow. I presume their roots are warmer because they have a large area to kind of soil to kind of keep them warm, I suppose. Whereas in pots, the much smaller volume of the pot, which is correct, you want a small pot, kind of triggers the tree into dormancy a lot earlier. But as you can see, lots going on there and looking very, very good. So we have some shots of Kingson Lacy in Dorset, some lovely trees, and just re-emphasising, things are a bit later than ones in pots, obviously. Really nice time of year, actually, to go and visit. Obviously, the fall colours are absolutely lovely. There's often some sort of like little attractions going on as well, which is great. And also, if you know these locations and you're a member, or perhaps, or you know where you're looking, you can kind of compare the fall colours of your trees against theirs. But really, really nice time of year to get out early. The clocks have changed now in this country, so it's now darker at night. It gets dark very quickly, so a nice early start and enjoying some scenery is a really good idea. So what about garden centres? What about buying online? What about buying at this time of year? Well, again, a tree in the ground is going to look something like that in this garden centre, which is Bartholomew's in Dorset, which is just lovely. The trees, on the other hand, don't expect them to look absolutely pristine. It wouldn't be right if they were, to be honest with you. So they're going to start losing their leaves. They're going to look a little bit less than perfect, of course. The season really for buying trees in the market is probably sort of March, April through to June, July, and that's it, because that's when they look at their best, and that's when the supermarkets, etc., will buy them in. Nothing wrong with buying a tree in this condition. It's absolutely fine. Or if it turns up as a mail order tree, then that's fine too. All I would say is, don't do anything with it till next year. Keep it in a nice sheltered spot. It could be the little ones like this. It could be the bigger ones too. If it turns up as a mail order, I've known people get rather disappointed online because they don't look great. This is it. I mean, the point I'd say, though, is if you don't really go in the garden much till next year, to be honest, why don't you just leave it till next year and buy a tree that it leaves out in all its glory, I suppose. On the other hand, many of these trees have had an extra season of growing in the nursery, so it's an opportunity to buy a tree at this year's price that's actually had a whole extra growing season, really, so you might bag yourself a little bargain. Entirely up to you, of course, but again, it's just managing expectations. This is normal, this is what happens. and don't expect the earth, to be honest. If you've got trees that you can move that are in pots in your garden, great time of year now to move them. Maybe relabel them because they're hard to recognise in the winter with no leaves, etc. And just set them up really don't have them somewhere where they can drain thoroughly. You don't want to build up more moisture. We don't want them sitting in soggy compost. Let them raise them up, put them on pebbles, etc. Put them somewhere sheltered if needs be, particularly the small ones, and you'll look forward to a great spring next year.